If you're thinking about hiring a professional resume writer to write your resume, you need to watch this video before you spend any money. I'm going to tell you when you should hire one, when you shouldn't hire one, and how you can tell a good one from a bad one. Now, without wasting any time, I'm just going to dive right in and tell you when you should actually spend the money and invest in yourself and hire a professional resume writer. First is if you're doing a career switch or if you're coming back to work after a really long break, like let's say 3 years or more. This could be from a medical break or from taking time off to raise a family. Both of these situations are extremely difficult and can be very complicated depending on the degree of the type of career switch you're trying to make and how long you've been out of work, which is why I recommend you actually do invest and get a professional resume writer. The odds are already stacked against you and it's going to take you a really long time to find a job. So you should invest in yourself to try to reduce this time as much as possible. And there's a lot of little mistakes that you can make that will actually prevent you from getting a job altogether. And so in this situation, it is worth spending the money. The second time you should actually spend money for a resume writer is if you're not getting the results that you want when it comes to getting interviews. Ideally, you want to get around a 10% response rate from all of the cold online applications that you're applying to without referrals. If you actually are getting interviews for about 10% of the jobs that you're blindly applying to, then I actually don't think you need to get a resume writer because those numbers are pretty good. And before you apply to all of the companies in your area, leaving you with no future options, you should invest the money to get a professional resume writer so that you don't get yourself blacklisted from every single one of those companies that you want to work at. The third time you should hire one is if you don't have access to good free resources. So I'm talking to you college students out there. Anyone getting a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, all of your college universities usually have career centers. And those career centers usually offer free services like resume reviews and resume writing and even interview prep. Also, if you've joined a professional organization that's related to your industry or the type of job that you're in, usually those organizations will actually bring in career coaches from time to time to do resume reviews and to provide career coaching as a part of the fees that you pay annually. The next time you should invest the money and hire one is if you've been contacted by your dream company to come and interview by them. Let's say your dream company sent you a message on LinkedIn saying that they have a role for you, and this is the company you've always wanted to work at. I do recommend you invest the money right now to make sure you're applying with the best resume possible since this is your dream company. You may only get one shot at this, and so you don't want to get yourself blacklisted. And the last situation where you should invest the money is if your LinkedIn profile isn't giving you the inbound leads for the types of jobs that you want. So if recruiters are contacting you through LinkedIn for jobs that you're either not interested in or you're not getting contacted at all, then it means that your resume and also probably your LinkedIn are not optimized to get you opportunities. And usually all of the really good professional resume writers can help you optimize both your resume and your LinkedIn to make sure that you can sit around and get passive inbound leads that may lead to really great job opportunities. Next, let's talk about when you should not hire a professional resume writer. First, all of the really good resume writers are usually pretty expensive, starting at around a few $100s all the way up to a few $1,000s. And you typically do get what you pay for. And so if you don't have the financial resources right now and flexibility to invest in these types of things, then you shouldn't get one. And try to watch YouTube videos like mine on this channel right here to optimize your resume that way. Next, I talked about this previously, but out of all of the jobs that you apply to online, if you get about 10% of them to call you back and ask you for an interview, you probably don't need to spend money here because your resume is good enough. Another reason you shouldn't pay for a resume writer is if you actually have a really strong network already. If you have a really strong network and good connections, especially at the senior or executive level at certain companies, your network can actually just lead you to job referrals. And therefore, you could have the worst resume, most likely, and you'll still get an opportunity to interview. Remember, your resume is just your vessel to get your foot in the door to allow you to interview. So if you already have good networking and strong connections, if they just immediately refer you for the job and you get the interview anyways, then you don't need to spend money on a resume. And the last time when you definitely should not spend the money on a resume writer is if you're applying for an entry-level role. And this could be if you're just getting your first job or if you're trying to restart your career and get an entry-level position. The reason why is because the ROI is just not there. The amount of money you're going to make is not going to be enough to make it worth the $500 or $1,000 you're going to have to spend on a professional resume writer. And also, the barrier of entry to get an entry-level position in almost any industry is pretty low. So just by utilizing free resources online like Reddit and this YouTube channel, you're going to be able to get enough information so you can get some interviews for an entry-level role. Okay, now let's talk about how to tell a good resume writer from a bad resume writer so you aren't wasting your money. And the first really telltale sign that this is a bad resume writer is if this resume writer never talks to you individually on the phone or through Zoom, or especially if they don't even ask you for a sample job job description of the job that you want. A lot of these big resume writing companies will try to automate as much of the process as possible so they can operate at scale and make as much money as they can. And in order to do that, they try to send you these online forms to fill out instead of actually talking to you. And without talking to you, they can never truly write a good resume that's optimized for your specific situation, because every single person is going through something different in their life and in their career, and they'll never be able to figure out how you need to tailor your specific situation for these specific jobs if they never talk to you. And also, how are they going to write really good resume bullets and content to go on your resume if they've never talked to you on the phone? And I mean, let's just think about it, right? If right now your resume is not optimized and is not good, it means you don't know how to write good bullets and good content to highlight your skills, experiences, and handle whatever situation that you're in. And so if this person never talks to you on the phone and they're asking you to write stuff out to explain yourself and talk about your jobs and what you've done, you're already not good at that, right? So how would typing it up now and giving it to somebody without them talking to you allow them to write better bullets than what you could write, since you have to type it up yourself, right? It's like this weird loop that just makes no sense. The second way to tell if this is a good or bad resume writer is if they're pretty cheap. Now, honestly, a good resume writer is going to charge you at least $400 to $500. If they're charging less than $500, then either they're not good quality or they're going to be offshoring this to someone else in a different country, and they're not actually doing the work themselves. Next, I don't recommend hiring a resume writer who wasn't a recruiter recently, like within the last 2 years. If they were a recruiter 10 years ago, then they aren't actually up to date with all of the latest trends and technologies that are happening and what hiring managers actually care about today and how these ATS systems really work. In the past, hiring managers used to really only care about your credentials, like where you went to school, what your GPA was, how many master's and PhD degrees that you have. But in today's day and age, hiring managers care more about what you've actually done and your accomplishment. Next, make sure the resume writer that you're investing in is one that specializes in both your industry and the type of job that you are trying to get. You should not pay a generalist resume writer who claims that they can write all types of resumes, because it means that they aren't actually truly optimizing and know what hiring managers want in these specific fields. This is especially true if you're applying for any type of technical position. So if you want a job in data science or research or literally any type of engineering position, software, hardware, electrical, mechanical, civil, AI and machine learning, literally any technical job, you should work and pay the money to get someone who specializes in that field. And also, if the jobs you're applying for require some type of portfolio like UX design or graphic design, you should definitely invest the money and get a coach specifically in that industry. The next type of professional resume writer you should not work with is one who is trying to teach you what to do through some type of online boot camp. Because like I mentioned before, you have a very unique situation. Your skills are very unique, the types of jobs you've worked in, what you've done could be very unique, and the type of job you want to get could be unique and different from you compared to any other candidate. And so there's no general way that someone can create some large-scale boot camp or workshop that could apply to every single person and help you, every single person, optimize their resume. So that's why you should invest the money to have someone just work with you individually. Now, this next piece of advice of how to tell a good versus a bad resume writer is going to be controversial, but I honestly think you should not ask for testimonials, and you should definitely not ask for samples of the resumes that this professional resume writer has worked with. Sure, you can ask for examples of resumes they've written, but remember, if you're asking for help, you don't actually know what a good resume looks like for your industry and your situation. So how can you tell if the ones they're showing you are actually going to be right for you? You can't, right? And also, a lot of these online testimonials can be faked. And also, they can cherry pick the ones that they've actually helped and use that on their resume or talk about that to get you to pay money. But there's could have been hundreds of other people that they were not able to help. So testimonials can be extremely biased and sometimes even fake. So instead, you should ask for a text or email screenshot from a previous client that directly contacted them after they were able to land a job using their resume that they wrote for them. These types of testimonials are much harder to fake because they would actually require them to get full consent from their previous client who has sent them this gratification. Okay, so if you've watched this video and you're still not sure if you should or should not pay for a resume writer, then why don't you actually just watch the other videos that I have on this channel in my resume writing playlist to see if these tips can help you optimize your resume and get to that 10% interview response rate. And if you actually have a unique situation where you're trying to switch careers or do something different, why don't you sign up for a free strategy session at CareerShakers.com. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if this was helpful and share this with a friend who is thinking about spending money so they spend it in the right way or just get to save it altogether.